hello. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. This is Rockin the Love. You have arrived in the exact right spot, and I am Robyn.
And I'm Gill, and I'm happy to be with you all today.
Yes.
Wow, I don't know how that intro came off to other people, but I thought we were playing musical chairs for a minute from my end. It kept starting and stopping.
Didn't happen over here, so
Oh, that's good. Okay.
stick to yourself, New Mexico. So just for those of you who are joining us for the first time, we'd love it if you signed up and liked our show, gave us your email, all that stuff, and participated in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from, and we'd love to interact with you. And I am coming to you live from Oakland, California. And Gill
is coming from Albuquerque, New Mexico. And apparently Wayne is coming from Calgary. So thank you, Wayne.
Yay.
Glad to see you out there today. That's very fun. And of course, our producer, Michael, is coming to us from somewhere in the Midwest.
From Ohio. Why, oh, why, oh, why, oh, why did I ever leave Ohio? Sorry, I became a Broadway actor at that moment. Anyway, so today our topic is under pressure.
Sorry. We have to present it that way because we can't actually play
I can't help but sing along. It just makes me want to sing.
Under pressure.
And so we'll be talking a little bit about that and what that means in this month of February, the week before Valentine's Day, and whatever February symbolizes. There's a lot of stuff going on. So we're going to talk about that. But first, how was your week?
Eventful, busy, full. I've done some serious driving and just a lot of things I wasn't expecting to do, but it's good.
How like life, right?
Mm-hmm.
Is that all you're going to say about it? Because if I was listening, that's not very interesting.
It's not. Well, I didn't say it was interesting. I said it was busy.
Well, it's been interesting being married to you because it's been interesting on my end. So
it's just, it's just life and family and changes and things that we have to walk through and figure out,
Yes, and that's what our show is about. It's about all of those things.
The pressure.
And
I was thinking about.
I mean, in general, Rockin the Love is about all of those things, and how at the end of the day, you got to come back to the love. It can only be about the love, right?
And our theme for this month is loving out loud. So
loving out loud. Ooh, opportunities.
Makes perfect sense.
Yep.
But sometimes it feels very something. And I think that's what the under pressure thing is about. That space where one feels as if it might be hard to get out from under whatever that is, even though there's nothing there per se. It just feels heavy.
Yeah, it weighs on us. And maybe that could be because it's unfamiliar. That could be because it's very familiar and you're really clear that you don't want to do that. I mean, there's all kinds of ways to look at that.
And what's our relationship to that, and what's our relationship to any of it, to learning what we can fix, what we can help, what we can not do, what all those pieces play into that pressure.
Yes.
Okay.
And I think Wayne is playing right into our conversation that we'll be having by saying bah humbug. Yes. Yes, Wayne. It's funny. I'll tell you how my week was, since
I didn't ask.
For those of you that don't know, Gill is my husband. So if you sense any marital angst or whatever you would call it, marital magic, it's because that's true. We are indeed married, although in different places.
And indeed magical.
But one of my kids just wrote a story about that, a play that we're going to be doing about a little boy named Fred who didn't like love or Valentine's Day. So yeah, bah humbug. There's a lot of that going on out there. Bah humbuggy.
Yeah, that's a great. I want to hear more about that story.
And you will. Um, so yeah, I mean, I'm just relating to that. But other than that, my week was fine. I mean, we have a lot of family stuff going on with, well, let me just suffice it to say we have teenagers in our house. So we'll be in chaos for at least the next 4 years. But no, I'm not claiming it. I'm just claiming it. Um, uh, Sorry, my brain went to an acronym. I was like, children having a outburst. So
Ciao.
anyway, okay, so we are. I don't know. I got lost. What are we
You got
doing?
lost. Okay, so we're talking about under pressure. Um, we've introduced ourselves. We've talked through the first part. I think it's time, perhaps, we talked about our week to
Okay,
talk
okay,
about the good news.
okay. So
So
here's the
let's
good
talk about the
news.
good news. What do you got for us?
Well, let me start with. I'm sorry. Let me start with our week because I really did think about this, and I really want to give a prayer and shout out for all that's going on with the earthquake and in
Oh my gosh, yes. Thank you for reminding me.
in all in all the countries that are feeling that, and really just take a moment to be in prayer for all of the people and their families, and all of the repercussions for that, and send a lot of love. So,
Mm-hmm.
and it's really a good barometer for any of us that are just able to tune in or be on our Facebook or our YouTube, and have the luxury of watching to people and shows and bantering and all of that stuff, like how lucky we really are.
Mm-hmm.
So that's how. And the good news started was because we hear a lot about all the bad news, but there's a lot of good news going on. So what do you got? Tell me about your story, your good news.
I set it up so you would start intentionally.
Good luck with that. All right, do you not have anything, or you just want to be last?
No, I didn't find anything this week.
Oh, okay. So this was just a fun story. I thought that a woman, a little girl, when she was 5 years old, there was a big earthquake in it was what was it? I forget. I think Haiti. It was the earthquake in Haiti. This was
Oh,
like
she was in Haiti during that.
no, she
Okay.
wasn't in Haiti. She was in Canada or wherever she lived. But she was 5 years old, and when they heard her and her sister heard about the earthquake, they went to whatever relief center and they emptied out their piggy bank, and they had $61 and something change together. They gave that to the relief fund, and last week they're calling this good karma. She went out and she won the state's second largest jackpot in history on her very first try ever. And she won like $48 million. So I thought that was good news. I mean, it just makes it super possible. And yeah, that was my good news story. So.
Well, it begs the question, is there really not enough, or is there just we got to tap into it? We got to be ready for it. And part of being ready for it is being ready to release it. I think that's part of what that just showed up there, holding that space of uh, allowing things to move through and through us shifts how things come to us, and also gives us a better attitude about the whole thing anyway.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
It
Yeah.
does. I mean, well, and that's the whole thing with tithing, right? Or with any of the work we do when we're in service, is we put it out there and then it shows up in our lives in different ways and bigger and better, right?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. All right. Well, then
So let me share this one with you, and I didn't find all of it, but there's a 9-year-old little girl in New Jersey who's just been honored by Yale. And she came up with some kind of a spray for these invasive bugs. And she's a scientist at 9 years old and created this, and it works. And the funny part of the story is not funny, but the part that, is interesting is that prior to her being recognized by Yale, she'd been reported by the neighbors for running around spraying things. And so she was spraying trees to see if it worked. And as like any good scientist does, you do something and then you check and see if it works or not. So anyway, 9 years old, I thought it was pretty fascinating that she had taken the time and the effort and the focus to create something so much so that she was recognized by an institution like Yale. So
that's fantastic. That's fantastic. And okay, so because you said that, I'm going to tell you there's another story that I thought about where one of the founders, and so don't quote me on this because I didn't focus on it, but one of the founders of Airbnb donated $25 million to this Dutch ocean cleanup. They've invented something to get the plastics out of the ocean, and it can reach the machine can reach like 1.5 miles in taking in the plastic. And this was invented by a Dutch boy, and they didn't say how old he was, but called him a boy, so I'm assuming he was under 18. And so it's like the moral to the story is, parents, don't get mad at your kids. They could just be inventors when they're running around doing crazy things, right? We never know.
I think that's what's happening. I think that's what's happening with us is we have a couple of inventors in our family. They're inventing, I don't know what, but when I find out, I'll let you know.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, all I want to know is who's already invented the remedy for it right now, because it's a lot. Anyway, okay, so I say that we come right back and we start our conversation about under pressure.
Under pressure.
All right, we'll see you right back here on New Thought Media Network. Take us out, Michael. Here we go.
Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Denver, for your continued support. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Midtown Atlanta, for your monthly contribution. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living North Jersey, for your monthly contribution. And please help us welcome Om Center for Spiritual Living in La Mesa, California. Thank you for your monthly donation. Thank you, Center for Spiritual Living Seattle, for your most generous donation. And a special thanks to Hefferlin Foundation for your generous technology grant. And Suze Ajit, thank you for your very generous donation. And a super special thank you to Dr. Tracy Brown, RSCP. Thanks for being a super donor. And a big shout out To all our committed donors.
And we are back right here on Rockin the Love on New Thought Media Network. I am Robyn.
And I'm Gill, and we're excited today, this second Wednesday in February, to talk about under pressure. What does that mean in terms of our relationships, our relationship to how the world works around us? So there you go. That's what we're talking about today.
And our relationship, especially in this month where everybody's talking about love. I used to think it was just because it was the month I was born, but it's not.
It's not.
So there is the big day coming up. You know what that is?
What is it?
Come on.
You mean Valentine's Day?
No. I mean Galentine's Day.
Oh.
Have you heard about Galentine's Day?
I have, but it's been a year or so.
Well, it's one of those up and coming holidays. And it's funny because a lot of people haven't heard of it, but I've seen more marketing for it this year than ever in my life. I was like, oh my God, they're really cashing in on this. And I actually was talking with our friend John, who was on our show last week. Thank you, John, for being on our show. Hopefully you and your sciatica are feeling better. But we're talking about going out for Valentine's Day. I'm like, no, we got to go out for Galentine's Day. And so do you know what Galentine's Day is?
No, tell me, so I know for sure.
Okay, so it is the day before Valentine's, and the day. It started as a day for women to celebrate their friendship with their lady friends and your gals, your gal pals, and
right.
So it's a blend between Valentine's Day and gal. So. And it was introduced to the world in an episode of Parks and Rec.
I didn't know that. That's funny.
With Leslie Knope was the character, and and so there. I actually have the quote from the show where she said, "What's Galentine's Day? Oh, it's only the best day of the year. Every February 13th, my lady friends and I leave out our husbands and our boyfriends at home, and we just come and kick it breakfast style. Ladies celebrating ladies. It's like Lilith Fair minus the angst, plus frittatas." And that was how Valentine's Day got started. And that was in 2010. And then they repeated it on the show in 2012, 2014, and 2016. and it became a thing.
Wow.
So I thought it was funny because I actually like it. I actually like it because Valentine's Day means so many different things in different countries. And in Mexico, it's not only the day of love, but they also call it the day of friendship, Dia de la Amistad. And it's really about loving your friends and loving people. I mean, it doesn't have to be I mean, it is the same and different. Does that make sense?
Right. Right.
So it's not exclusive. And I thought, so I like Valentine's Day because, like, then with my friends I can celebrate, and then with my husband I can celebrate.
Celebrate. Well, when you said, I'm glad you said the piece about Valentine's Day and explain it, because I thought it was just another way of approaching Valentine's Day, sort of, that didn't have its own specific day. But in some ways, it sounds like in Mexico, they've figured out better that it's a broader celebration of love and friendship than sometimes it seems to be here.
Yeah, I mean, and I think I got, when I was looking it up, I got connected to, like, the thought of, like, it's like when people say, "Oh, we're doing a Friendsgiving," and the things that we make up to include our larger family.
So what's the what do you think is the part, particularly here in America, that Valentine's Day seems to feed into that under pressure feeling in February sometimes?
Well, I could answer that question, but I think you should answer that question, because I think there's more pressure generally on the male in a male-female relationship to show up and prove it. Right? I mean, I think, and I don't think it's that way. I mean, well, I know it's not that way in every culture. And I mean, I think that the marketing of Valentine's Day here has made it, it's such a, it's hard to compete. It's not like when we used to make paper Valentines in school.
Right. Right.
Cutouts.
Yeah, I think there's a real expectation culturally that one should show up and if you really care, if you really love someone, if you really want to or are in relationship with someone, you gotta show up for Valentine's Day.
Yeah, and Sherry says, welcome, Sherry Lind. Sherry says, old school, I want Valentine's Day every day, not just one day a year.
Right.
And yeah, I think that's right. I mean, absolutely. We want it to become, we want to be living it, and again, it's a reevaluation of what Valentine's Day is,
Yeah, we get sucked into the marketing and all of that, and then we believe we have to do something, and sometimes we just let it. We don't. Let me change my wording. I don't always pay attention close enough to showing up in a loving way anytime, like not at any time, but any other time. I don't want people to think I'm a total failure at this.
But we are recording, right, Michael? I do have this on tape. Okay, I'm just making sure. No, absolutely. I think that, I mean, I go back to, this is what's so important about the work that we do when we work with couples getting married.
Mhm.
It's about really connecting on a different level. You can't just assume certain things. I mean, it's about really knowing that from a core level, and knowing that you're living that.
Well, I think you hit on something really important there, and that's the idea that what we talk about with couples is, how you do your wedding is how you will do your marriage, and that to me shifts into this thing. Um, if how we pay attention to how we love someone on any particular day should reflect how we're doing it all the time, you know? And yeah, so that's what came to me when you said that.
Yeah, and that's what Sherry was saying. And also, she said the consumers are just not following suit. If the supply stopped, I don't think anyone would care. LOL. Not me, anyway.
Yeah, I mean, I think that's true. There's a balloon and a teddy bear on every corner, um, but not any other time than on probably February 12th through 14th, generally on the 14th. you know
Well, but that, I mean, that's like every holiday.
that's true. That's
I
true.
mean, that's like Christmas. That's like Thanksgiving. That at Thanksgiving we sit down and we say what we're grateful for. I don't know how often we do that throughout the year. I mean, those of us in New Thought particularly probably do it a whole lot more than other people, but it's those I don't know, are they markers? Are they reminders? You know.
Well, Sherry, you make a good point talking about the consumerism side, and that's the same, just what you said, Robin. That's the same argument that we've had for any holiday, um, because in part what has happened, I think, is something that we originally, that probably originally came into being to help remind us of the importance of being grateful, of noticing our loved ones, of remembering, spiritual things in our lives, um, have turned into massive marketing opportunities,
Yeah.
right? Um, and that I think is one of the ways in which we fall into a space of being under pressure around those times, because it feels like there's a bunch of stuff we should do. And
So let me just interrupt. Sorry.
why not?
How do so okay, so here we are, you, me, Sherry, those of us that are thinking like this. How do we how do we keep it alive, and yet not have to have it be, like with the markers, like how do you make something last like that?
Hmm. So Sherry says, I have to remember it's all made up. Someone made it up, and all the stores are benefiting, and people think that they are benefiting, but they're spending a huge amount of money. I
And
think
go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I think, yes, someone made it up, but I think the original intention probably was much different than what we see now. Um, and if we just let ourselves get sucked in, then we just spend the money to make sure that we look good on the outside, and we don't really get back to what's the basis of this. How am I showing people I love them? How is this supporting that other person, that relationship in my life?
Let me, since you said it probably was not the intention, let me just tell you what the intention was.
Aha.
Because Valentine's Day dates back to ancient Rome. And just so you know, if you showed up in Rome on February 14th with some roses, you'd probably get some confused looks. because the Romans in that time were doing, there was a 3-day party known as Feast of Lupercalia. And participants in the multi-day feast were drunk, they were naked, and men used to sacrifice goats and dogs and then slapped women with the hides. The practice was supposed to aid fertility.
I was gonna say it sounds like Burning Man till you got to the hides and the slapping. Um, Goodness. Yes. All right. And do you think that's the origins of it?
Well, that's what that's where it started, and then it went to I mean, like, they didn't know. I mean, through the years, they didn't know, like, really, if Saint Valentine was a saint. And like back in the 60s, the Catholics took him off the saints list. And I mean, so there's a lot that was unknown of how it really started. And then, like back in 1477, there's a myth that a man in London sent his wife the first Valentine, and referred to love and all that. And then it started to show up, throughout the years in like Shakespeare and different things. And it says that, that cards and gifts became popular in the Middle Ages, and the oldest card known is in 1797, and that had the Cupid and the flowers. And that's what I know.
Well, that, I actually thought with the whole Saint Valentine connection that somehow it was another holiday that the Christians had to figure out how to mold it into something different to make it more acceptable, which has happened. So many other holidays were just ongoing holidays that had already been celebrated for slightly different reasons, and they were sort of taken over and made to match the thoughts of the church. So anyway, that's kind of where I thought you'd go, but you didn't go there. It's interesting.
It is interesting. I mean, it was very interesting hearing the origin, and like, hearing how, there were the love cards, and then the Victorians also sent rude cards on Valentine's Day, and they would send them to tell someone how they felt. If it was rude, they'd send it like nasty and anonymous, and they were named Vinegar Valentines. And this is how they often went. Here's a pretty cool reception. At least you'll say there's no deception. It says as plain as it can say, old fellow, you best step away. Right? I mean, who knew?
Okay. All right. So, goodness gracious.
However, what I did find out also, Valentine's is the holiday where people send almost the most cards ever.
Okay. See,
145 million Valentines.
Wow. So, Sherry, I just want to celebrate you right now, since you made it clear that you don't want to wait until the holidays. And I think that's true of all of us. I mean, that's what we really want. That's what we really want in relationship, is to know that we're celebrated. And I think in our relationship with ourselves, we have to find the way to acknowledge that all the time, that we're really celebrated.
Yeah. And I think what Sherry said about the unfortunate thing about these holidays, that people buy presents. What happens when you don't receive anything? You feel bad. And that's right. That's one of the things that I was thinking about, because, you feel bad if you don't get a present. You feel bad if you don't get a card. you may feel bad if you don't have a partner and you're, watching, and then inevitably there's some story on the news about people getting engaged, and or some pop-up marriage or whatever, all those things that lend to, if you're not in the mood worsening. And I really want to talk about that too, and how we change that as well.
Well, that sounds like, to me, that's a lot of how we view our world, because those things, quote, create pressure to do something. They create pressure for us to feel like other people are paying attention to us or whatever it is. And if we're living under that pressure, we're just living under an illusion of this what's supposed to be, which, as Sherry said earlier, is all made up. Right?
Right.
So if we're just living under things that are all made up, we can unmake them up, or we can make up a new one, or we can, change the story. And we don't have to be under that same pressure.
So Sherry is single-handedly changing the world.
She is.
Why not buy flowers and hand them out to everyone around you?
Why not?
Yeah. And make up a new story, Sherry says. Yes, absolutely. I think that, yeah. And for some of us, why not smile at everyone and say hello?
Right.
Why not just start with like being present to who's around you, and and that said, I think that's one of the reasons I like the Galentine's Day theory. Why not gather your friends and be with them? Why not? Why not?
Well, yeah, I think the magic of that for me, when I just think about it on the surface, is it's people taking control of the situation instead of allowing the situation to control them. So, we don't need to wait for someone else to acknowledge me. We don't need to wait for this or do that. We can acknowledge ourselves and each other any way we want. And I think that's part of that sort of idea. We don't have to wait for the men to figure it out.
Well, I think that so much of this comes from, like we're saying, that experience of not getting as many Valentines as someone else, or not getting a Valentine when you're in your class, or we keep growing and growing, and then if you're in a relationship, not getting the right thing, not buying, like, I will admit that, there are times when you are damned if you do, damned if you don't. Like, if you came home with roses for me on Valentine's Day, I'd be like, yeah, that took a lot of thought. There's a point at which my brain goes, I want you to do something different, something that you're really feeling. Not just because the guy on the corner had more roses than teddy bears and you went, okay, great. So,
and on the other hand,
if I'm really appreciative roses, that you did anything. Is that what I'm supposed to say? No, I am, but you know what I mean? That's why I think, again, we go back to how you do your marriage is how you'll do your life. There's a place of understanding. And part of me, I think the reason, like roses aren't always, or something common isn't the best choice, is because I also know that it pains you that you didn't think about it and da 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 da. You know what I mean? It's not just like, oh, I'll get roses because she loves roses. There's a thing that's, because I know you and I've seen you be romantic and do wonderful things, and I still remember them. So I know that it can be
really
done. Yeah.
There have been some more recent enough that you can remember them?
Yeah. Yeah.
Wow. Either you have a really good memory or I'm not doing as bad as I thought.
Okay. We'll just leave that up to question. But you know what I mean? It's that I know it doesn't even really feel great to you. I'm talking about in our relationship. I know that. So it's like I know how much more excited you get even when you just find a card that really means something. You know what I'm saying? You're frozen. Am I frozen? I don't look frozen. Okay, well somehow I don't hear Gil. Do you, Mr. Mangus? All right, so I will continue to talk while Gil finds his way back. But yeah, so I just think that there is such an importance to being extra kind to yourself. There he is. Are you back? No, you just went up. Yeah. Hello, hello.
Hello? Can you hear
Okay,
me?
we can.
Okay, good. Yeah, my internet is apparently unstable or something.
We got that.
Okay,
So
okay.
yeah, so right. I'm saying sometimes I know you take more pride and get more excited about like the card you get because it's the perfect
Mm-hmm.
card or something, and I'd rather have you be happy and it be authentic than we're both happy. Then we can because we can feel it. Why are you laughing?
Because you said you'd rather that I be happy if I liked it than if we're both happy, which sort of sounded like it's okay if you're not happy.
No, I what I meant was what I said was it's an energetic,
Yeah, it is.
so roses without without your buy-in are not. You're more happy with the roses you buy me on, June 5th because you saw them and that meant something to you in that moment.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Well, I mean that's the bottom line everywhere, isn't it? I mean, it's we don't as humans we we don't necessarily want other people to respond to us in a certain way. We want them to be authentic. We want to build authentic relationships. We don't want somebody to tell us that they care and then they don't. We don't want them to give us a flower, but when we say, you know, can you stop by? And they say, oh no, I can't do that. I mean, we want to
Right.
have that connection where there's an authentic feeling. And I think that's what we're all called to be about ultimately, is really being present and compassionate with people.
Yeah, absolutely.
Ah, so Sherry has just called me out. We usually give from our love languages instead of what makes the other person feel good. So we give from our love language instead of giving to the other person's love language. And I know
Absolutely.
I've been guilty of that. I think why do you ask me if I love you? What are you talking about? I did this and I did that and I'm doing this. And Robyn looks at me with a blank stare like, well, okay.
Yeah, absolutely. And I really want to talk about love languages on the show at some point. I want to get into those because I think that's so important and such a key to life. And um, yeah, we definitely give from our love languages for the most part. I mean, I try to give from your love language, but it's not where we go all the time.
No. Well, it makes sense because if we begin to understand our own needs, we begin to go, oh, well, gosh, I wanna be really nice to them. What I know it would be really nice for me, you know, and and that I think that's totally okay to a certain degree. But if we don't take it to the next step ever, then we don't again we don't really connect with someone else. We don't connect with that other person in a relationship.
Yeah.
And it's the same thing. If we don't even get to the point where we understand our own love languages, then we haven't connected with ourselves. We haven't really figured out what's going on inside of us.
Yeah. 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 It's so true. And Sherry said, I don't want flowers. When I get them, I try to be appreciative. Come on, come and clean up my house, and then we can talk. Which she laughed at, but it's so true. It's so true. And like, I'm not sure I want either one, but I know, like, Gill will say to me, when I say, do you love me? Or, I have some question like that. And he's like, I fixed the door and I fixed the handle on the staircase and I cleaned the refrigerator. And I'm like, that's not my love language. I'm very appreciative for those things. And I'm well aware that he's really good at them. And I'm grateful. But that's not, like, doesn't get me warm and fuzzy. Which,
apparently I need to go to Sherry's house.
Exactly.
She would be warm and fuzzier.
So yeah, no, but it's so important. And I even think, again, just going back to how we survive this, I think that you got to go back to your love language with yourself in order to feel good on these days. Like inviting the friends, or getting a massage, or taking a walk, or whatever it is that's going to really give you that feeling of just appreciating who you are and what you do. Welcome, Kent. Kent says Valentine's Day creates a forced and expected and required expression of love. How to authentically express love from the heart in an ongoing way.
So, hence the title, Under Pressure. It's that feeling of pressure. I've got to do this thing, and I've got to do it now. And that's it's a false reality there. However, I do want to share that and kind of put this out there before we close out today. And that is, I was thinking about this just as we started, and that is, what is it that happens because of pressure? And I was thinking, sometimes, we know that quite often going through the crucible, going through the pressure is something that actually allows us to become something else. What are diamonds? They're coal under pressure. What is a volcanic eruption and a whole flow of lava? It's rock underground under pressure. But it becomes this whole other thing. And I think just another way of reminding ourselves that sometimes when we're in that space of thinking, gosh, it's just a lot. It's a lot of pressure. I don't know what to do. Sometimes it's a call for us to figure out how to move through it, because that will allow us to grow into something much, much, much better, newer, something more creative.
Yeah, I think that's right. I think there's always a gift if you choose to accept it. There's always a learning, there's always a reason. And, I think in this time, especially after the pandemic and things, and where connection is so important to people, reconnecting and connecting, that, it's you've got to navigate a new normal, a new normal, and a new thought. And whether you're writing sticky notes on Post-its and posting them around your house, affirmations that you love yourself, or whatever, you are worthy. I mean, it's just finding and navigating the way.
Sorry, I was reading Sherry's note. I wish I could talk on this program about this topic, but I probably would take over.
Well, Sherry, you're welcome anytime. So you can come back next week and talk if you'd like. We'd love to have you. We'd love to have you back. And actually, Kent and Linda, we'd love to have you as well. So,
Absolutely.
whether you want to talk about this or you want to talk about your project or whatever's going on, or you want to talk about game night, because friends, that's what friends do. From Linda G. I have a partner who is thoughtful and kind to me every day. I must have good karma. Still, though, it's nice to have a special day to acknowledge and celebrate our relationship. We can choose to ignore the commercial and just do it. Yeah, I agree. And I'm going to say that there's still something, I don't know, there's something special about it. Yes, it doesn't have to happen that day, but in some ways it's like, if it's not established, I mean, as another day, it's just, it'd be like not celebrating another holiday, your birthday on your birthday, because, well, I mean, why have cake then? We had cake last week, kind of thing. I mean, there's something about, since it's here, whether it doesn't even matter if it's like a home cooked meal and Netflix and a movie and whatever, but it's I don't know, there's something special too.
You go, Wayne. Thank God I'm single. Well, you know what? Here's something I want to share, and that is my favorite Valentine's days. You know what they are?
I don't, but it better be with this wife. That's all I can say.
When I had a different wife. No.
Go ahead.
When we would deliver flowers for Valentine's Day for the flower shop.
Oh yeah,
that was fun. It was fun to have to.
We had a friend whose mother had a flower shop, and on Valentine's Day, of course, they're super busy, and we would go help work. And oh my God, that was a blast, because you got to see people's faces, and people were so happy when their flowers came, and just being together and doing it was really fun.
It was really fun. It made the day, the day really special. We, like you said, got to see people and go into offices and all these different places where people weren't necessarily, expecting anything. It was kind of fun.
Yeah. And it was, I mean, and because it was you and me, obviously, it's like we were also being love in action.
Mm-hmm.
We were it, you know what I mean? And it was just, that was super fun.
Yep. Well, my love, I think we're coming to the end of a fun and exciting thing for today. What do we want to wrap up with? You must have a quote or something. You always do. I mean, come on.
Okay. All right. I have a quote.
There you go. See?
Well, I think that this is the quote I will use. Learn to love yourself first instead of loving the idea of other people loving you. And that's by John Spence. And I think that's really important. I mean, and I would just add, and know that you are loved by other people, and know that you are loved. And just take this time and just be with yourself and celebrate, who you are. And maybe Sherry Lynn will come, Reverend Sherry Lynn will come and talk more about this.
Well, I think it's so that idea of so often we find ourselves in love with some idea of something. And I think that's what happens with days like Valentine's Day. If we're in love with the idea of what we've decided it should be, instead of allowing it to be what it is, in our particular relationship, in our particular surroundings, with the particular people we're with. Right?
Yeah. Yeah, and I was thinking about that, like just when you were talking that some of our other good moments, like holidays, like Christmas, is really some of the good memories are getting together with our friends, Linda, Kent, Johanna, and doing the gift exchange, and where we made things for other people. It was a gift
Right.
exchange, the Dutch one called Sinterklaas, and we would make things, and you couldn't tell the person who it was from, but it was made with them in mind, so it was very specific. And I mean, that was amazing because you're watching people get excited about things that are for them, and so clearly, whatever our love languages are and how they differ, there's that commonality that when we're with people that are uh, feeling the love and being the love, and open to receiving the love, there's that exchange.
And open to giving the love by really taking the time to figure out what's gonna evoke love in this other person.
Right.
What is it that's gonna touch them and make them feel taken care of or seen or encouraged or whatever it is.
Yeah. So we just want to leave you with those thoughts, and that you are the love. And again, that's what Rockin the Love is all about. At the end of the day, you're it, and you being it and shining it truly is anchoring and changing the world. So be it.
Be
Shine
it.
love. Yeah.
Take a
Thank you
deep
so
breath. Let the pressure go.
Yeah, let the pressure go. Do something from your heart, you know. And we're just blessing you all, knowing truly that you are that space, and that, yeah, there's just, I don't know, I feel warm and fuzzy. Mission accomplished. So thank you all for being out there and for being the space of love and for joining us. Thank you to our producer, Michael Mangus, and all of you who are here, and those of you that are watching in the future. Let us know what you do and what Valentine's Day has in store for you. Let us know next week, because there's only 4 more shopping days. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding. Go cut out your Valentine. Make them really happy. All right. Okay, y'all. See you next week right here on Rockin' the Love.